First time ever.
Hear you loud and clearly.
And it was going place.
That stuff's great.
But the game is not a roguelike.
Boomer shooter.
Bang.
Hello, this is John St. John, and you're listening to KEEP in the Keep, bringing you all the hits from the finest in the world of gaming and entertainment. Now sit back and relax as the drowned god Cthulhu lulls your mind with the tastiest talk in town.
Welcome to another chapter of In the Keep podcast. I'm your very own prophet of the drowned god, the Motherlode. The Keep is a collective of gaming enthusiasts compelled by the drowned god Cthulhu to frag and jib one another into oblivion for all eternity. Welcome to the podcast. Would you like to introduce yourself first?
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Okay.
I'm Jared. I guess I'm DaBesJared. I gotta. This is a horrible way to start because I hate my name and I've never. I express that all the time. But yeah, I'm Jared. I just go by Jared. Let me be a lesson to people. Never build a career on a name you hate because you will be stuck with it for all time. But so I just try to go by Jared when I can. I stream on Twitch, but I do like a whole bunch of other stuff, and I guess I'm here because we have so many mutual friends, and the community as a whole has been absolutely incredible to me as far as the classic FPS community, and I am beyond thankful to be hanging out with you today. So thank you for welcoming me in.
Yeah, man. Well, honestly, there's no grand scheme here going on as like who do I pick to be on the show. It really just kind of happens organically. So like I had Foamy on a couple weeks ago and he's like, you got to talk to this guy Jared, and that was it. That's all it really took. Thanks, Mom. So yeah, it was just like, okay, sure, I'll check that guy out. And then I was like, oh, I really like the stream. You got a pretty fucking badass following going on. Like I had no idea. It's so easy to get caught up in the few people that I know at E1M1 Magazine that I can barely pay attention to everyone that contributes. And it's like so many different people. But I got a chance to work a little bit closer with the magazine because of this Quake mini mag that we're putting out. So
yeah,
organically through multiple parties, they're like, oh, you should talk to these people and that people. Yeah. So it's cool. Well,
that's cool, man. I'm thankful for it to land on me and honestly just have the opportunity to jam with you here.
Mm. So how did you originally really originally decide that you desired to work in any peripheral next to video games? Because streaming itself is like a hard fucking pass, but then also writing and all this other shit. Like, where does that branch from? Where does that come from?
You know what? I think I did it on accident.
Yeah.
It's which, you know, a lot of guys, that's the way it happens, right? Like a lot of us kind of do small jobs, never find our place, and then kind of just one day you're in your mid 30s and you realize you play video games and talk about them for a living. And and it's weird and wonderful and I love it. And I mean, my history with the industry, I mean, it's okay. So the last year in particular has been so pivotal in my life. Like, I mean, how did I get involved? Just like all of us, like I've always loved games. Like that's what we do. And, grew up with my XT and my 386 playing Doom and hanging out, serial connections, LAN parties every weekend, all that stuff. And then it just I got into life, got into retail management and was there for a long, long time. And then, I guess several years ago, man, me and my friends we were all playing WoW, and one of us was like, the conversation was just, hey, one of us should stream. And I was like, well, I don't have time, but I'll do it. And so, I started and we took it relatively seriously because if I'm going to do something, we want to do you want to do your best at whatever you do
it in hard
general. And
every time.
And eventually it just kind of blossomed into something viable. And then an opportunity to move to another state where living was cheaper, went full time with that. And at that point it was just, it's funny because at that point I see clearly looking back the desire to be connected to. I mean, we're here in the Keep podcast. The central pull for people here is this classic FPS, retro inspired FPS, 3D, like things from 3D Realms and the things we all grew up with. Mm-hmm. And here I am streaming, and I love that stuff, and I don't get to play any of it on stream, you know. And I always have this desire to do that, but I'm like, you know what? I'll just keep it a hobby. It's fine. I'll keep it a hobby. We'll stream these other things that people want to watch, and it's fine. But then, you know, you fast forward down the road, and now it's become like this central part of my life. Like I finally just couldn't do it anymore. I wanted to take this thing that I found joy and connection and friendship, which is weird because it's just games, right? Right. But it took that part in my life where I was like, I want to integrate that. I want that to be part of what I do for work. And through, it's kind of crazy. Like through, I think the first step in getting me connected to this side of the aisle was actually, Strawman, Graven, him and Dennis.
Yeah, Scarecrow, David, Queener.
Oh, Scarecrow. What did I say? Strawman, Scarecrow.
Well, he goes by Strawman Design on Twitter. It just took me I had to connect the dots.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Scarecrow, Strawman. There you go. Yeah. So I remember, like I'm pretty serious about this streaming thing. Like I want to grow. I want it to be a career, and my understanding is streams always shrink, and so if you have to counter that, and so you have to play things at certain times and be smart about stuff. And my favorite game of all time is Hexen. And I understand, like, nobody wants to look for the stupid door. They don't know where it is. I get it. Like, it has some issues, but like Hexen is just like, it's so damn metal, and I love it so much. And Graven, the early access launched, and I was like, I don't even know what my plans were that day. I probably had some other plans, but I was like, nah, when games like that launch, at least with the way the industry is, as far as being a streamer, you have one day to take advantage of it. That's it. Day two, you don't get new viewers. It's just day one when people are like, hey, is this worth buying? So I remember that one of the things is, you tweet at developers, they show up, and it makes, it's just a cool experience for viewers because the developers are there and yada, yada, yada. And so I tweeted at him. And I think he told the guys at 1C, their publisher, that we were playing. And so the whole group of them came and hung out. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the pivotal moment for me where I started to experience this pull towards, our shared interests is, talk to 1C. They asked me to start doing some side gigs for them. The ones I can talk about. Steam Fest was coming up. We just started kicking out videos so that they could have videos for their games that were focused on certain entertainment aspects that we excel at, and so take on that side gig, and then another side gig, and then another side gig, and then start becoming just closer friends with a lot of the guys in the industry. Get to express my fandom to the people who are with me. And it just kind of snowballed. And now it's like, I'm very fortunate and thankful to be included among the contributors of E1M1.
Who were you talking to?
I do 1C? A whole bunch of stuff. Dawn actually, was the guy who reached out to me, and we became pretty close friends over all that.
Yeah. All those guys are really helpful.
It's just, snowballed. Oh yeah. It's a cool life, man. It's a cool world. And I'm so thankful to be, to have this thing that was a hobby, and to get to be connected to that community. It's really rad for me.
I mean, you definitely just kind of, as you said, had that pivotal moment where just like, oh, this is how I can be involved. And it's odd because it took me a long time to kind of get there too. And originally this podcast was just strictly about like arena shooters. Like if you go back and listen to the first 7 or 8 episodes, you could see where I run out of material. I'm like, oh shit. Yeah. Like Quake Champions is not the most marketable game in the world. And definitely none of these other games are. I'm just kidding, because I still love arena FPS, but then your scope broadens. And then I realized at a certain point, like a lot of these like retro FPS devs, like Void Inc. I think was the first one who just like reached out to me and said, "Hey, would I be a fit for that?" And I'm like, "Of fucking course you are." And we're still friends to this day.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then you get involved in like, oh well, offering feedback. You become someone that people trust to like help them market their shit, and that's a big responsibility in a lot of ways. I mean, it feels so small when I was starting out, but now that I understand that, hey, people actually like care about if they get on this podcast, not necessarily because it has a shit ton of listeners, but because of the people who are listening to it, which happen to be mostly game devs. I mean, who's interested in hearing developers talk, not fans. There are a lot of fans who enjoy that stuff, but developers themselves, like younger, newer developers who are trying to break their way in, are always trying to get, an edge or a hint or something from the people who are making shit move out there, movers and shakers. And yeah. So anyway, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with
it's fun. Yeah. Okay. So I've been talking to, like, this has become, like I said, a major part of my life. And it's funny because I'm not trying to get ahead of myself in our conversation, right? Because we could cut to like certain points and then they just don't contextually make as much sense. But like, as you talk about like the idea of people valuing your presence, people valuing what you do, it's funny because I've been talking to, close friends of mine that I consider family and my spouse and thinking about like, okay, what, like this is an odd thing. It's progressing. People are beginning to value opinions or thoughts or words, and it's how do you begin to think about that? Because I'm in this strange position right now where I've been streaming full time for, actually I said 2 years, but it's been 3, I guess. I just kind of losing track of it. Making enough money to live and growing, and it's neat. But then, a year ago, I get connected with all of these guys, and now like I stream a good 40 hours a week, but the rest of the time I'm like, answering messages from people who are working on games that we're going to be excited about in a few years that they're not talking about. And them, saying, how does this shotgun look? Is it too large? What's in this 30-second clip? Is this thing throwing people off? And it's this strange thing of like, okay, why, like, how is this becoming a thing that you want to know my opinion of? Where's the value coming from? And it's a really humbling process because you could go the opposite direction and think you're the shit. And it's like, but you're not. There's plenty of people who know better or could answer better. And it's like, so as our careers, and this is something I'm sure for you, as you've fallen deeper into this career in this world, is like acknowledging what that value is and where it's coming from. And that's, I don't know, it's a weird transitional thing because I probably know the answer. You just want to think it right and you want to say those things right. Like, because we talk about, like, I kind of skirt it a little bit, but one of the side gigs that I do is consulting to developers, and it's frustratingly under NDA for everything I do. But the idea is, like, because of what my career has been and because my primary viewership is not FPS fans, it's not people who love what we love. One of the things that I've become passionate about over the course of the last year that's put me in a position where I get messages from these guys that are like friends and clients asking for impressions of things is they understand that my primary concern is when somebody comes to the stream, is there something awkward? Is there something weird? Is there something unmarketable? And as I've fallen into classic FPS, that naturally fell to that, where I'm playing a game and I'm like, okay, I'm concerned about how this is looking to my viewers, because if it looks weird to them or feels weird to them, and then they're not interested and they leave. And so it's like, it's this unique position that I'm so thankful for, that I've fallen into, where the term we've kind of coined, or at least the concept we've kind of coined, is kind of a new customer marketability. Because, as you know, we have, like, in the FPS community, we have an insane amount of amazing titles coming out over the next 3 years. It's crazy. Like it's not the same deal it was 4 years ago. Like we have amazing games come out. We also have a lot of crap in the middle of it. And it's like, how do you make things stand out? Because we have this unique scenario where no matter what, there's guys like me who are going to buy every single FPS that comes out. I see a game for $10, I'm buying it. I'm going to play it. I'm going to enjoy parts of it, whether it's great or not. I'm going to enjoy it. And there's a lot of guys like us, but because of the sheer number of titles coming out over the next few years, we need new customers we need to bring people in who don't normally experience these things and don't normally purchase everything. And that's kind of become my perspective is how can we market this trailer to people and make it shareable to people who are outside of the normal purchasing group, or this game, I'm doing this thing, I have this idea, is this something that's going to throw people off and get them out of it, or what's marketable, what's rewarding to new people, what's going to make new people come and stay. And so it's like, because of my career and the path that I've entered into our communities, I at least get to offer that unique perspective, and I try to be thoughtful with it. And it's something that I'll tell you, I love doing so much. It's so enjoyable to get something from somebody and for them to be like, I'm thinking this, and then for us to work out the process and be like, maybe this would be better, or hey, that's spot on. My wife would be interested in that. She plays Apex, and that's a marketable game, and it's not the thing that most people do. So, but you want my wife playing your game. So how can we get my wife playing your game? Like it's a fun position to be in. I'll tell you that.
We used to say the same thing about like the WWE, like when people get so frustrated, like why are they so like whitewashed and child friendly compared to the way they used to be? It was like, well, they got to a point where they realized, A, they're making more money off merchandise sales than they're ever going to make off of anything else. And people who buy merchandise are parents of children. So therefore you have to put on a show that children can watch. And people are like so frustrated because like, well, why are they not catering towards us? We're the real wrestling fans. Like, the real wrestling fans are a guaranteed income for them. They don't have to serve you. They know you're going to show up every time. You want to interest, people outside of that obvious market. That's where you make money at. So yeah, I totally get what you mean, but so that's a paying gig now. That's like something you get to do for money. I imagine there's a lot of people out there who are interested in such a career.
Yeah, I don't know how. It's one of those things. This is what I mean. Is like when you think about it, like how do you get in a position like that? Because I receive messages from people who know I do that, and I received one today, and somebody's like, "How can I do that?" And I'm like, well, you got to make sure that you have something unique to offer besides just playing a game. Like if somebody's going to pay you to just play a game, then you're just QA. Like you need to make sure that you are offering you need to make sure you're offering something that is unique and valuable. And then, that it's something that is affordable. And so there's, it's like I said, it's a job that 13-year-old Jared would have been really excited about what my life is right now. Is, play video games for a chunk of the day, hang out with my kid, and then get to my office and review things that I can't talk about. Like it's cool. It's great. And I love it. And I'm so thankful for it because it's all new to me too. Again, like I think the thing that blows me away is how accepting are people. And it's so like, I'm 38, right? Like, when you get to a certain point, you just start losing friends. You don't gain new friends. That's not commonly a thing. Like it becomes more of a challenge, right? And upon connecting with people in the classic FPS community, I've gained new friends, and it's such a strange, delightful experience for me to be like, okay, here's extra work, but also here's some friends, and it's a new community, and it brings a whole change to my life, and that I want other people to be connected to our community. I want other people to, and that's actually changed my other stuff. I mean, as a streamer, right? Like I'm constantly trying to grow a channel, but I also recognize that people want places to belong. And so where I used to, just be focused on channel growth, now I'm like, oh, what's also valuable to people? Like these things that I love, these people that I love, that the connecting point, oddly enough, is a game genre. The quality of people within that, and I keep saying, classic FPS, whatever you want to call it, boomer shooter, classic FPS, neo retro, whatever. Like, it's all that we have such high quality people, and it is amazing to me. Like, just the fans of these games, the developers of these games, they're accessible, they're kind, and they've been such a joy to me as I've discovered everybody over this last year, that I just want to take all the people in my life that are connected vaguely or not, and I want, if they're interested, I want them to be connected and to love all you guys. It's something that I am so thankful to be included and to actually feel like I have value and something to offer and serve within the community,
That's a pretty strong principle that I sort of accidentally lived by. Like, it wasn't like a conscious effort, but I thought about this later on as I got into it, and I realized that I'm far more likely to go out. Let's say there's a book, right? And you see someone selling a book on like the Ellen DeGeneres show, or just like some normal network kind of TV or whatever. I'm usually going to assume like, yeah, that's probably not for me. But if you hear like a writer, or you meet a writer and they tell you their life experience, and they tell you a lot of, some of the background of like why this is so important to them and all that sort of, it can be a lot more powerful than just your typical like advertisement. And I think that people really do make decisions based on emotion. And as much as they'd like to say, I make all my decisions based on a logical financial choice, like bullshit. You buy shit because you're emotionally invested in it. And if you become emotionally invested in the people creating something, for instance, like John Romero, people will go out and buy shit just because it says John Romero on it and for no other reason. He's built a brand that is synonymous with, a certain type of thing that people resonate with, and they find resonates with them. And that's your target. That's what you want. And not just in a marketing sense, but just in like a being a happy person sense. When you actually are talking about something you love. So for instance, for you, it's this particular game genre, and the people who work in that, you get to know these people, and your instinct is like, I want to tell other people about that. That's networking. I mean, that is grassroots DIY punk rock, getting your shit out there. And hopefully the intermingling continues, because there's a lot of, as you said, there's a lot of games coming out, and there's a lot of people that need to be reached about these games.
Yeah. And it's, it's funny. This, like, I'll refer to it constantly, but this last year's been such a weird transitional time for me. Right.
Right.
Like, one of the thoughts that like plagued me and kind of pushed me to where I'm at right now is I remember, man, I forget what game, and I probably wouldn't mention it anyway if I remembered, but I remember somebody made a game, man, and their heart was in it because, they put a lot of time into it, and it was an utter failure at launch. And the heart, and this person, usually you don't see people express the heartbreak. But this person was vocal about it, and it was so sad to see. And I'm like, I looked at it and I was like, this is a quality product. Like, this is actually good. There's several reasons it failed. Some of it was marketing, and some of it was networking, and then some of it, there's a degree of luck a lot of the time with things like that. And, but it was just an abject failure. And I remember sitting at my desk reading over their tweets, and I was just so sad about it. Like cause this person just was properly expressive. Some people know how to share their grief, and they did. And I was like, shit, this is a lot of people's story. Like, a lot. And during that time, I was becoming closer friends with, I think, Josh from BPM. And I remember thinking like, okay, well, I want to do what I can, like, because BPM had just come out during that time period. And I was like, I want to do what I can to let people know that there's something of value here. But then at the same time, I'm like, I'm trying to balance my own life, because as a streamer, there's games that you can, like I said, there's limited time periods because you're looking for new viewers. You can't just, big streamer secret, you can't stream whatever the hell you want. You'll fail. You got to be smart and tactful and all those things. And it's like, I remember being so frustrated because I wanted to share Josh's game more, because I like, and I wanted to do my part, because I'm thankful, because when I play games, I make money because I play games. And so as I play a game, there's this natural thankfulness that comes from it, where I'm like, these guys are making awesome games. I want there to be return on this for them. And so, but then I hit a point where I was like, I can't do this and succeed at the same time. And I remember deciding then that I wanted to, at some point, I wanted to be in a position where I could sacrifice certain amounts of time to focus on those things. And so that was probably a year ago. You fast forward to now, and that's become a thing that we have. It took a lot of work to get there, but like, I sacrifice my Fridays for early access titles and for demos and stuff that's coming out. And the point in doing that is to take my community, which are not natural purchasers of those types of things. Like, they're not like, my channel was built around strategy games, Darkest Dungeon, stuff like that.
Hell yeah, I love Darkest Dungeon.
That is what we built around, and yeah, I loved it, and I had a lot of success in that area, and so that's a pretty big difference to take people who are fans of that genre and be like, okay, now let me show you this thing, and they just don't care. And so over the course of the last year, my goal has been to develop a community that has one, trust in like, hey, Jared wants to show this, let's check it out. And then developing the skills within myself to highlight the things that people maybe don't realize they like, but they do like. And that's if we really talk about like that, why I have these side gigs, it's because that is the focus. It's because that is the mentality of like, John over here doesn't think he likes classic FPS, but he does. I just have to show him that he does. And so he has to trust me enough to look, and then I have to know how to behave so that he, for a moment, tastes the joy that he will taste when he gets in this thing. And so that's become my, I guess, like a career focus of mine is perfecting those skills, because we need new customers. And I say that, not being a developer, but being somebody who benefits from good games and development. Like, and I'd really like to play that stuff more and more and more. And as we go into the next few years where we're going to have some incredible titles, I'm like, oh man, I really want to play these things. And I really want it to be the sort of thing that people also enjoy. And so, yeah, it's that's like what my jam is right now. And I love it, man. I love the work we've put in to get to this point where that is now, we're in the beginning stages of it, but it's viable. My days where we do that. I mean, sure, I'm not sitting at 300 viewers playing Darkest Dungeon. But we're sitting at 100, 150 playing whatever the heck we want and getting a chance to introduce the things that I find joy in. And that benefits me in building community and people being excited about the stuff I'm excited about, so they come back. But it also benefits friends of ours who are making these games. And that's a really important thing to me, to drag new people in, kicking and screaming, but do it skillfully. So
what are some of the things that these, your average viewer that just kind of pops into your channel for a AAA night of extravaganza game, and then you try to sell them on, I don't know, something akin to what you're talking about? We'll use Viscera Fest as an example. It's a 1C title.
Yeah. We just played that. I actually held I held out on that for so long.
Yeah.
I remember I bought it on day one, and it's funny because this is my selfish thing, right? Like, I bought it and I was like, I'd like to play this on stream someday. I'm not gonna ruin the experience. And this is part of that is like, I purposefully, like, with Viscera Fest, right? Like, when I bought it, I played about an hour of it and was like, this is cool, man.
Yeah.
I want to share my first experience of this with people. Why is that important? Well, it's important because somebody's first experience, you see and experience at least a flavor of their delight and challenge and enjoyment, as opposed to watching somebody who's professional. A way you could relate that is, you go watch Bazooka Joey play Doom Eternal. Mm-hmm. Dude's amazing. He's great. He's fantastic at it. And you might be impressed, but as a new player, you can't picture yourself doing that, right? Like, that's not a thing. You're not on a journey with them.
That's why Quake esports
somebody's
don't work.
first playthrough. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. I mean, it's impressive watching people do that, and the skill cap. I mean, oh man, I definitely have enjoyed several, but it's not marketable. And that's just an unfortunate reality. But first experiences are, and that is a thing that I've grown to treasure myself, because I realize the value in selling, the value in allowing somebody to experience that. And so I will tell you, like, I mean, I excel at keeping my eyes shut and not ruining and spoiling games when they come out. And that's a thing that's really mattered to me. There's also calls to action, right? And I think that that's a thing that this is where you cross the line from being just somebody who streams games to being somebody who becomes an advocate. Is, for instance, we're playing a game that's maybe not out yet. Well, I understand wish lists are important. Why does that matter to me? Because my friends make games. And I understand how the Steam algorithm works, and you want wish lists in there. And so as I'm playing a game that maybe it's a demo, well, my responsibility to my friends in the community is calls to action. Hey guys, this game's great. Make sure you wish list it. This is really, really important to do. If you're interested in this thing, wish list it. And it becomes, it's this integrated position that I've begun to love and adore doing, because I mean, my motivator is literally because I like these people. And I mean, if I didn't like what we do and what we're building all together in all of these teams, like, I don't see that I would have reason to do that necessarily, but I feel a sense of urgency to do that. And so it's a perspective. And again, this is like, like people ask, like, how can I get these side gigs? Well, you need to care about that stuff. Otherwise a publisher doesn't care. Like, a publisher's not going to, like, a publisher loves somebody who does that stuff. They're going to get you side gigs. You're going to be making videos for Steam Fest and stuff like that. Like, you need to be, like, if somebody wants to do more and be integrated into these things, they need to become an advocate for the industry. And I'm thankful that the last year has kind of formed that natural desire to do that. And again, that stems from, our people are just amazing, man. Like, it's a really humbling thing to have, Dennis, and to have Fireplant, and to have, all these guys who make games that I absolutely am a huge fan of. Like I'm a fan of these guys, and for them to be hanging out with us all day, like almost every day, it's a really humbling thing, and I love it.
One of the things that you said that it really sparked an interest in me is, and for the people listening at home who may not be familiar with the term, call to action is the industry term now. This is like, even in the podcasting world, Captivate like integrated their call to action button into every podcast player across their entire platform. Mm-hmm. And it's such an odd thing, because it really is just like that 1960s Mad Men style advertisement thing. But the idea being, you're supposed to trick people into paying attention to you, which is a good thing. But
here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. They want to.
Yeah.
And this is a thing. I was talking to, oh man, I forget who it was. It might have been, I want to say it was Fireplant the other day. Is we were talking about previous jobs we had, right? And this probably doesn't come as a shock. I used to be a cell phone salesman. I was a car salesman. I hated it. It's an immoral job. I lied to myself when I would go to work. It sucked. Then I'd go and sell phones. Now, phones were less shisty. And the secret about the phone industry is that phone guys don't actually care what they sell you, as long as they're selling you. They just don't care. Like, and like a $100 phone would be the same as a $1,000 phone to me, like, because I got paid the same amount. As long, there's a few details in there, but that's the general gist of it. And so, like I ran a store. I worked for AT&T for quite some time, and there were things that were sucky about it, but there were things that I learned greatly, and they've served me in my position as a streamer and now doing what I do, understanding that, like, there's this thing, somebody walks into your store, right? And they're like, hi, I'm here to get a phone. But then they're resistant because they're scared. And so as you spend time with them, you're trying to help them find the thing that they enjoy. And then you do a call to action. And the call to action is always, okay, you have a need, you have a desire. Let's do it. And you open the door for them. Right. And so that's an important skill to realize is they literally came for a thing and they want the thing, but we are so resistant to the idea of action. Like we just don't. We're social creatures. We follow each other. Peer pressure exists, and that makes me do things. And so the idea when we're talking about calls to action that benefit the idea is a call to action when done properly is one that benefits everybody. Because let's say I'm listening to In the Keep and I'm enjoying it, right? Well, okay, cool. My kid just ran in the room. I'm going to shut it off and I'm going to go upstairs and do what I need to do. Well, if during the time period before that, there was a proper call to action saying, hey, if you're having fun, make sure you follow on X and Y platform so that next time you can have more fun. And the idea is you benefit because you're running a podcast and you need people to listen. And then they benefit because they get to do the thing that they just enjoyed again. And that applies to, as I started streaming, I realized it applies to streaming. You're having fun on the stream. Well, you probably want to follow, or you probably want to subscribe so that we can continue having fun. But then the way that relates to the development industry, it's the same. You're enjoying this game. You think this game is cool? Well, don't forget about it because you're going to forget. So there's this button called a wish list. Just right now, take a second to do it. I know you don't want to, but you will forget. And if you're having fun and you want more, do the thing. And helping people do that and realize their shortcomings, because that's just how we are. I'm lazy. I don't want to click the button because then I got to open back up the stream I'm watching. But it's like if somebody's like, no, really do it. I'll be like, okay, I'll do it. That's fine. Yeah, let's go. And calls to action are I feel like they are a vital part of the relationship between people who do what I do and people who make games. They serve them so much. And it's like the thought is, okay, well, what if I do a call to action and only 3 people click it? Okay.
Three people who might have clicked
maybe
it
one of those people
otherwise wouldn't have. Each of them who might tell
they
3
wouldn't
other
have.
people.
And so but that's not just 3 because things can multiply, right? Like this guy, who knows who this guy knows? Like this guy might be the one who gets it to XQC and XQC plays it and has a great time and a bunch of people buy it. We're seeing examples right now on Twitch. There's this stupid game called Vampire Survivors that is just it's a cell phone game essentially, but everybody's playing it because people had fun, and you see the developer succeeding now, selling a game for $3, but he's sold a lot, and who knows how that connection got there. And the idea is it sounds silly, but being a responsible member of the the term community, it's such a catch-all term. Tribe. But there's there's this cycle, there's this being, everybody has a responsibility, and everybody succeeds together. And so, realizing that in my position, realizing, okay, I want to do this stuff so these guys can succeed, because when they succeed, it gives me opportunity to succeed. Plus you also end up liking the person, so you want them to succeed anyway. It's not just a selfish thing. And that's been a really important thing. So when we talk call to action, that's become insanely important to me. And I'll tell you, if I had a developer that, if I was in a contract and they told me to do a call to action, it's so weird because I would be like, hell yeah, of course I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that anyway. But I can tell you that if somebody saw that in a contract, they would feel this strange obligation and kind of disgust being told that they should. And it's it's an important part of the relationship. Embrace it.
What sucks about it, I think the reason why deep down it just feels icky to say is because it is a few words that encapsulate a very large part of the human experience, right? So this goes all the way back, probably further than this, but at least as far back as the feudal system, when it's the lords and the kings call their banners, which means everyone who has a sense of loyalty to them, probably not because they love them necessarily, but because they have got family intertwined in these marriages and lands that they share and goods that they need from each other, and the idea that these other people are going to protect them if they end up in the same situation. And the ability to inspire people to not just, click on a wish list, but to be ready at any time to respond to the king calling you to go to war on his behalf. This is a very, very deeply rooted human trait we have. And that is that we do need to be inspired. Yeah. Absolutely. Like a charismatic leader has always been a problem for us.
Yeah. And so like the and I feel a sense of obligation to do that just because I said, I saw that person's sad tweets and I was like, man, in the ideal situation, people would have known about this. And so what is my, what skills do I have that can benefit that? Right. And let's take advantage of that. Cause not everybody's going to be good at that stuff. It's fine. Some people are going to be ill-equipped to play parts that they are uncomfortable with or shouldn't do. But the idea is, I would like to do my part. And yeah, it's something that I find great value in. And in turn, the people who I've become close to, I know without a doubt find value in it as well. I receive messages, specific over it. And it's like, okay, this is an important part and it should be done.
Yeah. So how does that translate to your writing?
So the writing thing's funny. So I agreed to start writing for E1M1, right? Like in the middle of the night the other night, I got a message from Zach, and he was like, "Hey, we'd been kind of chatting back and forth with it. They asked me several months back to be part of a judging panel for a game jam, which is cool, right? Like I think that's a lot of fun. I really enjoy that sort of stuff. And I'll tell you, it felt really good to be asked to be part of that. Because again, like this is a whole new world for me. And I'm like, wow, you guys really care what I think. That's really cool. But so, I did that and I wrote a short article on it for him. And then I remember I was, now I assume there's a connection here. I recently had written kind of a long, kind of a tweet longer thing. Nobody ever reads those things, right? Like you do it and people just whatever. And so, but it was something that I felt, passionate about, something I wanted to share with people. And it was about level design and reward and stuff like that. Yeah. It's like, and so I, kind of wrote a long explanation of the idea because I'm, as somebody who plays games and somebody who is thoughtful about that, because my audience, I need to keep their attention, and I purposefully am looking for the idea of like, well, people can't see how fun a game, or people can't feel how fun a game is. They have to visualize it, the visual elements. And so I wrote this long thing about the visual elements and emotional reward and all that stuff, and the stuff that keeps me playing. And I recently played a really well-designed early access game, and I left the name out because that's the goal is not to make anybody feel awkward, but to equip people with some thoughts. And so, I wrote this thing and the guys at E1M1 sounded like they found value in it. And a lot of our mutual friends wrote me and were like, these are really good points. These are things we need to think about. And then it was, sent to a bunch of dev teams who are working on some pretty prestigious projects. And, it's really humbling for me because I'm just some dude who, I'm just some basement gremlin who, plays video games all day. And so they hit me up and they were like, hey, would you like to join our team? And, or would, it was a, would you like to apply? And I was like, I don't know, man, I'm pretty busy. But then like, I got a message the other night and they were like, hey, we don't even want you to apply. Would you just like to be part of our team? And it's like, you know what? Thinking about it, I love writing. I absolutely love writing. It's not a thing that I've embraced in my life, but it's a thing that with my background, I went to different college stuff, and I went to a Bible college when I was young, and so preaching and specific expression is something that I enjoy greatly. Getting a point across succinctly and in a way that can be understood, and given I've fallen out of that world, the memories of the enjoyment of those things just lead me to, I had a little tiny hole in my heart. And so I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm down. I'd love to do this. And it's funny because where sure it doesn't, things like that don't necessarily pay well. They are something that are, you can be so passionate about. And so it's like, I see it. I don't know if this sounds weird or not. I see it as another opportunity to serve a community that has been a joy to me.
Right.
I really, and I know I've said it, but I can't express enough my thankfulness for being included with all these amazing people. People who usually, streamers suck. Streamers are so annoying. Like, we are the worst. Like, we all think our opinions matter so much. And so as I've been in a position that generally we all want free game keys, and we all, we want all the developers following our Twitter account so we look like a big deal. And it's like, we're not the most palatable set of people. And my thankfulness for being sincerely included in this larger group. And you say the term tribe, but it feels like it. It really does. Like, I see this thing with E1M1 as an opportunity to serve and to be included more. And that's like where that's landed in my life. Like, is it a thing that I like, the idea of like, that's a side gig of mine? Cool. Yeah, absolutely. That's neat. But the actual joy comes from the idea of inclusion and kind of serving the people who have been nice to me.
The whole concept of a magazine in 2022 still absolutely blows my mind. And I could not be more
isn't it
guilty
dope, dude?
of having been the guy that said, the first time I saw E1M1 pop up on Twitter, I was like, oh, that's cool, but that's definitely not going to be a thing. And here we are later, and they blew. I had to tell that straight to Jake and Zach. I was just like, you blew way past us so fast in terms of your reach. I had no idea that people cared about physical media so much. And even if it's just, they're getting the downloads or whatever, it's really impressive. But again, it comes back to that sort of DIY culture. I don't even think that I've ever necessarily saw a magazine that I was like, oh, I really, really want that magazine, but I almost feel obligated to support it just because of how damn helpful the E1M1 group has been with everything. I could not have pulled off.
It's such a smart move.
Yeah.
It's such a smart thing that they did, because here you have a bunch of 30 somethings, right? Guys my age who would go to Target every month and get their Electronic Gaming Monthly magazine. And we take our CD home and we'd play our demos and go through the Coconut Monkey crap and PC that was PC Gamer. Yeah, we get our PC Gamer, Coconut Monkey, like all that stuff. Like, it was a culture, and it got ripped away from us. And then you have this smart move of retro shooters, which are a little earlier than that generation. And so you have this double nostalgia pull. And nostalgia is great. It's cool because it's like, it allows me to relive a joyful moment of my life. And so that's obviously key in it. It's like, because you have people that are ordering these magazines, especially the first batch, right? Without knowing if it's going to be the quality that they want or not. They don't care. It's an imprint magazine that reminds them of when they were young and lets them feel that way again. And it, it's backed up by the idea that some of those guys they're actually very skilled writers, some of them. And and so it meets the quality requirement. And I'm not surprised that that the magazine is succeeding and is about to be up to what, 13, I think 13 plus all the side mags. But like, I'll tell you, man, you also throw in the fact that, like you say, they're incredibly helpful people and incredibly kind. They were one of the pivotal things in my experience, because I went away on vacation. I was bored out of my mind on vacation, and I wasn't I didn't know them yet, and I joined their Discord and started chatting with them, because here I am in Arizona in the middle of whatever summer, and it was just kind of a horrible experience, and at my father-in-law's house, so I'm trying to tread carefully, and you have Zach talking to me, Zach being really kind, and then Zach like paying attention to what I'm doing as a person, and he's like, hey, I know you're bored. Why don't I send you some magazines? And so he sent me, the digital prints or the digital magazine. And I was like, it just the thoughtfulness and the kindness of them as a leadership team over there, just really like they have increased the value, because it's not just magazines. It's the E1M1 community. Right. And I love it, man. And I'm absolutely honored to be part of that now. Like that's a really fun, exciting thing for me. And again, it puts me in that position where I want to serve. I want to help them. I want to do things for them, because they, at a moment in my life where I was not happy, they brought a sense of joy to me.
Well, I don't know if it was, I'm hesitant to call Zach smart ever, but one of the really intelligent things that they managed to pull off in hindsight was that, so they got involved with using the skills that they already had developed as part of this thing that led them to making it, with Zach being a fantastic voice actor and everything, and then just used this to sort of propel themselves into getting into all these really cool marketing spots. They got themselves into being very, very involved with the planning of Realms Deep very, early on, and super, super helpful. It's like people were like, hey, I need a voice actor for this or that, or I need someone to slap some video together or to write up or whatever. And then lo and behold, who's doing all the footwork. And that's just kind of amazingly intelligent to do. Because a lot of people are like, hey, don't work for free. But sometimes working, I don't want to say working for exposure, but just being a part of the process can be a huge bonding glue that keeps you in someone's attention, in their mind when they want.
Well, it's funny you say that, because the amount of times that I've been told from developers that their first important gigs were free is mind blowing. And it's not a thing you're supposed to say, or next to free, but and I think that's because some people irresponsibly, take advantage of others. And, but there are times where a responsible person and persons will do things for proper amounts of exposure. And it's not just the idea of exposure. It's the idea of putting skill on display. And I think that's probably a better way to express what you see there, is they have these skills, they show them off, and then people go, oh, okay, I find value in that. When a lot of time we talk about, for exposure, there's taking advantage of weirdness mixed in, and unequipped people and sorts of power abuse and stuff like that. And though, those are the bad ones. How do you discern it? You don't. But I will say that I agree with that. I think that's exactly what they did. And I think it's really, really smart, because when I'm part of what I do is I'm constantly like, hey, I find value in this group as a whole. I find value in our, I'll use the term tribe again. I find value in our FPS tribe. And so I'm constantly saying to people, people be like, well, how do I connect to this stuff? And the very first place I always say is E1M1. Before I was even part of their group, I would say E1M1. And the reason I would say that is because they are this wonderfully developed hub, right? Between their tweets and their Discord and the people involved and their accessibility. When you go to their Discord, you will get responses from normal people who are these people doing amazing things. They are the hub that I use to introduce people to our world now. And my answer is usually, okay, follow E1M1, check out their Saturday tweet, follow all of those guys, start interacting, pay attention, and above all, become a fan of all these things. And it's just, they're very, very smart to position themselves that way. And we've all benefited from it greatly. I mean, you with Realms Deep, and me with everything going on in my life. And have they benefited? Absolutely, and they should.
Oh, this is
great at what they do.
This has been the most ridiculous 3-year ride ever for me. If you had asked me when I started this thing where it would take me, there's no way I could have predicted any of it. And I mean, hopefully that should be the case with pretty much every endeavor you take. Even if it's a complete failure, you should have had a lot of experience along the way that was worthwhile. But I feel blessed. I wake up and I'm like, I cannot believe that I'm going to fuck off until 6 p.m. and then do my job for 2 hours, which is, drinking tea and talking to you. So
Wow.
One thing that you did mention that I thought was quite interesting is just, so the idea of the E1M1 serving is this sort of like central hub, and this is going to get maybe a little complicated, but try to follow along with my brain.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So like, I think about this sense of responsibility that certain content creators, or we'll say facilitators or curators, have. And that is, how much effort can they actually put into being of service? And is it smarter to include everyone, or is it smarter to be that sort of curative point of view where it's like, this is worth it, this is not? I mean, how many people do you think are tuning in to watch your stream because of the game or because of you, and they trust you to play good shit or recommend good shit to them?
So I will say, so I've been streaming 4 years, right? This is when we talk streaming, there are streamers who know what they're doing, and there's streamers who just don't, right? There are streamers who are very, very purposeful in what they do, how they act, the connections they look to make. And it's funny because these are conversations I have with streamers relatively often because people want to stream. It's one of those, we said this earlier, like I jokingly said, I'm living the dream. This job isn't the dream. My job, or the dream, is that I don't have to leave my house at 6 a.m. and go sell phones. I get to have my daughter come wake me up, and I have breakfast, and then I come down and hang out with a bunch of cool people, and then I'm done, and then I get to put her to bed and have dinner, all that stuff. Like my life is the dream, but there are people who want this gig. And part of that is forming an audience in the most purposeful way possible. You would be surprised that I'm able to make my living off my viewership. Like, that should be a shocking thing. My viewership is sometimes it's 300, sometimes it's 100. You know what? Every once in a while it's 75. And it's like, well, how does he have a career this way? And I have a career doing this specifically because I have very purposefully built a specific audience that is connected to me. Now, the smart thing about that is designing your schedule to meet new people and understanding that John just tuned into the stream. You don't know that John is watching. You have no idea what time he's watching, but I have about 5 minutes to connect to John in some meaningful fashion. John came for the game. That's why he came. That was his intention. His intention is the game. It's not me. Although there is a thing I do that kind of is that, and I'll mention that in a second, but the idea is my entire stream is designed to have people connect to me. When they connect to a person, they value their opinion and they will follow them elsewhere. And there are some people who will only watch specific things. That's without a doubt. That's how it's going to be. But the goal is, to get a small percentage of those people, as big as a percentage as you can get, though, to connect to you. Because then you have a consistent audience and they're connected and they want you to continue, because it's, if I just streamed Dark Souls, and I went away, there's plenty of other Dark Souls guys that somebody can watch. And so the idea is you don't want that. I don't want that. I want a career doing this. I want to continue my career doing this. And so this is, I think, the uniqueness of what we've done and the uniqueness of why I feel connected to make these new moves into this classic FPS community, and why I feel that I can properly serve, do calls to action, get people to trust me, is because over the past 4 years since I've been doing this, I'll select a game to meet people, but my entire goal and concept is at any given, it's the same. Somebody might click on this part of this part of your podcast. They might be fast forwarding through. You don't know. And that means every single second that you're talking, every single second that you're on camera, whatever the situation is, you need to be drawing people into your personality and who you are. And that's a very real experience as a streamer, right? And so as I've developed this, the ultimate picture of it is when I do a 24-hour stream, which I do once a month. My goal is that anytime in the 24-hour stream, you're going to show up and I am the star of the show and you are connected to me. It doesn't matter if it's at 22 hours. I don't get to be tired because Kim, who just showed up at the 22-hour mark because she clicked on the stream, I need to be able to connect to her very, very quickly so that she follows me out, trusts me, finds value in me over the course of time, and then I can take that, and as I'm entering into this new world, use that appropriately.
So what is an example?
Streaming can be hard when you do it right.
What would be an example
was
of
that?
pulling someone in 5 minutes?
Okay. I think the best way to explain it is, let me think of the right way to, because it's not about a game. It's never about a game, but the game serves as a vehicle. So it's through proper expression. It's through proper energy. It's through little things like potential eye contact with a camera very purposefully. It's about doing things like, this sounds stupid, but it matters. Reading chat out loud. Why do I read chat out loud? Because if Kim says hi, Kim wants to be a star of the show for a few seconds. So I need to like, if Kim says, hey, I really like this game, I need to say, hey, I really like this game. She hears her own words through me. Now, is that manipulative? No, I don't believe it is at all. I think that it's actually important because it shows somebody that they are valuable, that they are a person, and it's something that I've always cared immensely about is looking to be connectable, looking to be considerate, looking to be energetic. And honestly, that equals out to being a very tiring 8-hour stream every day. Very tiring, but it's what you have to do to succeed in the industry. And then, it also has benefits of people are connecting to you, so you get to do whatever the hell you want. You can stream whatever you want. I can stream Duke Nukem Forever, which I did, which was quite the experience, and viewership stays the same.
What do you think about? Okay, so an example would be like Civi11, who sort of made his career specifically by playing shit that people would not play. And I think entirely based on how entertaining his show is, because it's really more like a TV show than it is like, a proper video essay or anything of that nature, which is why people like it. But I mean, he can play anything he wants. I mean, he could play the absolute bottom of the barrel crap in the world and people will care. And it's so bizarre to me. But as you said, it's never about the game. It's about that personal connection. Yeah.
And sometimes, sometimes he makes very purposeful decisions to wrangle in interest, but he can take advantage of that interest and do what he wants because people are connected to him. And that's, it's funny, but you have YouTube and Twitch and all these other things. And the term, at least in my world for Twitch is personality streamer, right? Like that's what people go there for. I mean, I'll tell you, I watch gambling on Twitch sometimes because I love the guy who's doing it. And it's weird. I'm watching some guy do $1,000 spins and I'm having fun because of his personality. It doesn't matter to me what it is. And it's just it's really funny because to reemphasize that when the same guy who I love streams Call of Duty and he drains himself of personality because he's trying to rank up and do whatever, I actually kind of lose it. It's when a personality is the priority, and that's the key to doing variety, right? Like, because I've said this a lot in my industry. People want to be able to do what they want in the industry I'm in. They want to be able to stream whatever they want. They want to be able to play whatever games, and that is so hard. It is insanely hard because if I were to just stream, like I said, I did Darkest Dungeon. I refused to just stream Darkest Dungeon because I knew there was a danger, because if all you do is stream that, like stream one thing that people want to see, they never connect to you, because the second you go somewhere else, the environment is uncomfortable. And so the idea is you become the comfort. You never let people feel comfort in anything except for you. And I think that that's the key to connection. Is you become people's home and make sure they don't accidentally or the game doesn't actually accidentally become their home. And that's been a priority of mine since I've started. And I mean, given there's other factors like proper game selection and, there's tricks to getting clicks on browse menus and stuff. But that's the heart of it is becoming, you want to become somebody's comfort in some sense. And you have the danger of bad people doing that and using that wrong. And the responsibility of the person of all people is to be a decent person. And so, yeah, I'm thankful that I get to do it. I'll tell you that much. And I'm still early on in this. I mean, typically people don't get to live off of this sort of industry for many, many years. And, I guess I've been doing it 4.5 now. So it's nice. It's a good thing. And I'm thankful. I'm very, very thankful for this time in life.
That's another thing that sort of draws back into talking about multiplayer games. Is like, what makes a multiplayer game fun, and there's a lot of different aspects to it. There's the pursuit of your rank or your, increasing your skill or doing better. But that really only applies to a handful of people who are going to be your true, competitive folks. I mean, it could be a handful per 1,000 or something like that, but it's really not that giant audience that we're talking about creating. You have your diehards and you'll always have your diehards. The other people are what's concerning. And so the main thing that keeps people playing multiplayer games most of the time is who they're playing with. It's like, do my friends play this game? I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've played a game that I otherwise would never have touched, but it's like, yeah, it's what the group's playing. Or your friend's like, oh, I got this new game. We can co-op it together or we can play against each other. And that is in large part how the arena shooter community has stayed alive. I mean, there were a few times when it seemed like, okay, well, on life support, and yet it still persists. And I think that just really comes down to, if you have a group of people who can consistently be there for you and be welcoming and willing to teach, you'll always have new people who show up, and you'll always have people who you can potentially convert into later becoming the person who does the same for someone else. That's a big, huge win for Bridgeburner, just organically though. But we were talking about E1M1 being a hub for specifically first-person shooter stuff. But if you want to go even deeper, like the Hellforge is like, this is where you got to be part of the current single-player Doom mapping community. Otherwise, it's like you're missing out on something. It's not the only place. There's always going to be Doom World,
but no, Bridge is taken. It's so funny, like. Bridge. It's funny to like these names they're all so important to me. Like, right. Because I had connections through the Graven guys and through 1C and another important connection that made me impressed and value and want to be involved was Bridge. I remember one of the connection there is somebody liked one of Hexencraft's songs. And Hex is somebody who's connected to a bunch of us. He does like dark gothic industrial stuff, and he's a great musician. And Hex is constantly trying to get gigs in the industry, and of course Prime is constantly taking all of those. And so but he liked one of Bridges' tweets, and I remember seeing a picture and it wasn't something of Bridges, but it's something, it was a staircase done in GZ Doom. And it was just the most impressive shit I'd ever seen at that point. And I was like, I don't understand. I have to see this. And I clicked through, and this is like early on during the beginning of that first year conversion, where I, growing up with classic FPS was all this stuff was cool, but I didn't realize it was still alive and active. And so I remember I went to Bridges' stream and I saw him working on Age of Hell. And was just like, what the hell is this? Like I had no idea. Like that was my first encounter with like advanced like GZ Doom mapping, and it just blew me away. And it's that group is just such a stronghold when it comes to that stuff. And I'll tell you, they're another group, man. Like when they announced Hellforge, I'm just amped about it. Like I love the stuff coming out of them. And they're all amazing people too. Like I just absolutely adore every single one of them. They've all been very, very kind and welcoming to me, and it's cool, man. I like them. I'm happy for them.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of really interesting games coming out of that studio over time. It's just it's very fun to get to watch as Bridgeburner slowly but surely builds it into a studio. I mean, I got my fingers crossed for him, and of course, I'm like always there every step of the way, like that I can be like, hey man, don't make the same mistakes I did on the way, like that kind of shit. So, but he's doing such a good job of just being sort of a. So the analogy I had is kind of fucked up sounding, but I'm going to say it because it's funny now that I've said it. I thought of it through. But he's like a mosquito light, and people are just drawn towards him. And I'm like, that's what you inspire people to want to be around you and be creative. And if you can funnel that in towards a mutually beneficial thing for everyone involved, you've got yourself a company. I mean, that's how that works. So,
yeah, absolutely. And I think I think that's key. Is I mean, we have, it's like. The perfect example is the meme lords at New Blood, right? Like they're just absolutely absurd men, but it's not the memes that people like. It's the boldness, it's the confidence, it's the leadership. They are men who inspire, and they use those skills. And so I do see a nugget of that in Bridge. And as Bridge is forming this, like, and not being a meme lord, but there is something magnetic about him as a person. Yep. And that's a quality that I like. That's one of those qualities that's not teachable. Just some people have it, and everybody kind of wants it, but not everybody gets it. And Bridge does seem to have that. And the fact that I get to consider him a friend is, I consider it an honor, man. He is exactly the type of leader who could form something like that down the road. And it looks like it will. And so, yeah, we're all definitely rooting for him. I'll tell you that.
Something that you said earlier that I tried to take note of was how in some situations when you're talking about trying to draw in that audience and those people and inspire that loyalty in an audience, when you talk about someone like, I mean, Bridge Burner is a great example. He's just a very naturally charismatic dude, but there are also many other aspects that kind of, you could be born super charismatic and do awful things, or you could be born charismatic and then also develop the skills along the way that allow you to use that for, we'll say for good, right?
Yeah.
Finger quotes around good, but
yeah,
to try to lift others up with you, I guess. I'm a big believer in the concept of high tides raising all ships. And so from your perspective, like, you have put yourself in this entire conversation is really centered around you putting yourself in a position to do what you need to do to make a living. And then you feel this like need to give back. And I feel like that's been a tradition, especially amongst the Doom community, but also the Quake community for a long time. And that's we can repeat that till Kingdom Come. But this general culture that was created in the, we'll say the late 90s around sharing and helping and creating avenues for other people to sort of stand on the shoulders of giants in many cases, is how we've gotten this far. So for anybody out there thinking that they're going to be able to silently go out there without the help of others and market their game effectively, like, I wish them luck, but I doubt it. People like you, or who a lot of these people depend on now. I mean, influencers, whether that be on Twitch or social media or just community leaders, anybody who's got like a few hundred people who are willing to pick your shit up.
Oh yeah.
As you're saying, you're able to make a living, more or less off of not that huge of a number of people. And that reminds me of something that, do you know the rapper Ice-T, also in Law and Order?
Yeah.
So he had this amazing talk. I've probably talked about this like a million times on the podcast, but it's like one of those like nuggets of wisdom that sticks with me through everything. And he would talk about how, like, if you want to make a living, in the music industry, you could try to be that person who sells like 1 million records every time. But what you really just need is to have enough people in every town you go to, like 300-400 people to fill up a club for you. And you'll always be able to make a living, and if that's $10 a head, I mean, shit, it's worth it. It's worth traveling around. I've been in situations before where I've compared like Patreons with other people who were just kind of like starting off on Patreon, and mine's nothing to write home about, but it's what it really came down to is like the number of people subscribing to your channel and how much they give. And you could say that's synonymous to A, their economic class, first of all, but also B, like, how much do they give a shit? Or how much can they afford to help you? And if you have like 75 people who are all willing to throw you $10 a month, you're doing way better off than the guy, who signed the $1 million deal but gets nothing until after it's paid for.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So scope is important too. I hope I didn't ramble for too long.
It for sure is. No, that's perfect. It's a really, really good point, right?
Yeah.
Like it very, very much is about the value a person brings to other people's lives, because other people are willing to pay for that. If they actually find a sense of value in you, then there is support. And I think that's the important thing. And that's why I've I could be streaming one game and have crazy amount of top end viewers, but really what matters is your lows. What is your lowest low? That's all you care about in my industry. That's literally it, is like, what's the least amount of people or the least amount of money I make in a month? I need to know that. I need to be focused on that. Not like, hey, how cool can I look? And if I keep doing this, like, will I have 1,000 viewers in this area? The idea is, and so as we relate that to all of these concepts, right? Like, that also connects to when publishers and individual devs are connecting with, I hate the term influencer, but it is appropriate when used with the right people. If you have a group of people who do spend money because they find value in a show, in a stream or whatever, the group that finds value is better than the large group. The smaller group that of purchasers, the smaller group of, like, the stronger influencer is the better connection. And so it is an interesting thing, because it's funny. I was watching, oh man, I won't say names on it, but so that game Sifu came out today, or was everybody streaming it today. And you have one guy who, he's two really large streamers streaming it, totally different reactions. One of them, loving the game because he wanted to engage with the system in the game, and he wanted to understand what the developers wanted him to play like. And so you have this guy who's engaged and connected to his community because he wants to enjoy this game. And his chat, everybody's like, I'm picking this up, I'm going to grab this. This looks so fun. I love this. And then you have another guy who only plays Souls games ever, and he's insisting that the game is a failure because it's not like the thing that he typically likes. And so he's not engaging with the system. And his chat is full of 1,000 people saying how horrible the game is, saying it's a 2 out of 10. And this other guy's like, I'm loving this game, man. I'm having fun. And it's like, it's different people have different values in the industry depending on the way they interact with your product. And so as we're looking at influencers and the way they are, like, selecting good influencers for the guys in the industry is so freaking vital. You need people who will engage with the system, because then, like, or engage with your game in a way that's intended, and not some of these other guys who just they'll hold a big number, but oh man, their pride and their arrogance will lose you sales. And it's just, oh man, it's such a weird world to navigate,
Well, there's a certain point where it's like, you'd be better off with like a dozen, relatively small streamers or videographers or whatever saying really good things about your game than you would if PewDiePie gets a hold of it and shits on it, right? Like,
yeah, like for the memes and for the funny and
right,
yeah, like, yeah, selection is important. And so it's you look at like the relationship between people with my job and people who are developing games, and man, I'll tell you, being on the other side of that would be so hard. It would stress me the hell out, like trying to evaluate, are these the people we find value in engaging? Like, how do you determine the value of somebody you're engaging with? Like, but it's also vital, because if you don't engage at all.
Go ahead. If you don't engage at all.
Well, I was going to say, if you don't engage at all, you just lose. Like,
yeah, I think if you have a pretty awesome product and you do your own kind of ground roots marketing, there's such a significant amount of people who will just sort of find you in the early part of it. So for Call of Seregnar, right? Like this is a particularly niche sort of game that I'm creating here. That we're
I actually snuck a little time on it today. It's pretty great.
And this is not me making a call to action. I'm just discussing business as I see it. But immediately, as soon as you put out like Betrayal at Krondor influence thing, everyone who cares still about Betrayal at Krondor shows up immediately. Like they're in for the long haul. They're like, yeah, we're supporting this. And that's great. And it's getting those other people who already aren't, if I had to guesstimate how many people are currently alive, able to purchase, money, still interested in being involved in computer games at all, and have a deep seated love of Might and Magic 6 and fucking Betrayal at Krondor and Daggerfall.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's not the biggest group of people in the world,
you just spoke to my childhood. Thank you.
They're a very dedicated group of people, though. But as you said, finding people who would take that and spread it across, not even to say like to cross the genre mold or whatever, but just to get that message out to all of the other people who are not currently receiving the signal is a huge part of it too. So finding streamers like yourself who are like, you have a unique talent for turning people from those AAA customers into potentially like an indie customer. You're the kind of person that makes sense for me to reach out to. You already just shown, through your works, how much you care about giving back to the community that this sort of is involved in. It's kind of strange to talk about that game because it's so not a retro FPS, but it's still
but it is still connected. It's within the umbrella. And I think that's the interesting thing. So we can follow this train of thought, right? Like you have, because we said this earlier, there are a set number of people that are definitely going to buy these titles, but it's not enough. We need more. And it's like, and I think the thing that people in my position and, developers, publishers need to realize is that umbrella is so big that there is something that fits way more people than we realize. There's a kid that's 13 years old somewhere that would absolutely love that game. Like he's going to think it's the coolest thing ever. He's some D&D nerd and he just, adores that sort of game, but he doesn't know it yet. And the idea is finding them because they are out there. And I think that's where it's so fun. Okay. I just feel so strange saying our industry because like my primary income is from streaming, but I also, my foot is in all these other, finger is in pies, not foot in pies. That's not the right phrase. My finger is in all these other pies. And so I feel a connection to this industry where I'm like, okay, so what's the phase of our industry right now? As far as classic FPS and the larger umbrella. Well, we're in this phase where it's popular amongst the group that it's popular among because people like me or like have now realized that it's a thing. But we're going to buy it anyway. Second, somebody like me realizes these things exist, I'm buying them. Like that's just what it is. But the problem is a lot of people are tempted to stop there. And I feel like our industry needs to be thinking bigger than that. Why? Because there are a lot of people who will enjoy these things and they just don't know yet. And they're not people like me who have this magnetic nostalgia thing. But it's like a lot of our games are quality and they're amazing and they're fun and they're some of the most enjoyable experiences I've ever had. And we just need to find ways to inform people, which, it comes down to, it's funny, like, it's very practical ways. Like social media is like a huge thing. People share trailers, share videos. And I was sent video by somebody, early development of a game. And they were like, what do you think about this video? And I was like, you have to reduce the field of view. I was like, if my wife sees this video, she's disconnecting instantly. I was like, you can make a hardcore trailer on your Steam page for people who love this stuff like me. I'm going to run 100 field of view when I'm playing Quake, man. That's fine. But my wife, she sees that and she's going to go, oh, I'm uninterested. But my wife loves shooters. She's good at them. And it's like, so the idea is what would give my wife pause? And so this person sends me this trailer, and I was like, nope, it's crap. I was like, because it's not appealing and shareable outside of our circles. You got to understand, everybody who knows about your game is going to buy it anyway. Whether you show a hardcore trailer or not, they're all going to buy it anyway, because that is the FPS community. That is what we do. We buy anything above a certain quality standard. We'll buy it all. Once it hits this line, it's purchased. Your game is already going to be above that line. You've already hit that customer. So the idea is, what can we craft that is shareable and like on social media outside of our normal circles? And so, it's like you take the trailer back to the drawing board and you reduce the field of view to be something marketable, something that's easy to look at. And then you start the trailer with maybe, you have to understand that, Twitter videos are muted typically on average for 7 seconds, because it takes people 5 seconds to get to that mute key if they're interested. So the idea is your first 5 seconds need to have something visually attractive to be marketable to this group that might like it but doesn't know they like it yet. And so it's like, this is the place that the industry, I feel, is at, is we already have a set minimum customer base for good products. How can we get more? And let's use our minds to think about what's marketable. And I just feel like that's where we're at. And those are the thoughts we need to be thinking right now, because I want all these games to succeed. And there's too many damn games, so they can't all succeed unless we bring new customers in. New players need to join our ranks. Yep. Because there's too many games and people have a limited amount of funds.
And it's interesting how the market works, because ostensibly, let's say every person out there, if you could reach them all at one time who would be interested in your product, if you said, give me $1 and I'll have it to you, like, I can do it for sure. And you probably could. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of getting those people's attention. So the reality is that you'll never actually get all of their attention. So you have to have enough people within the group of people who you do get, who can bring that price to create what you're trying to create in the time that you're trying to create it to an agreeable price. Otherwise, you'll have to have someone at the top paying more and less. It's so difficult. And that's one thing that I think that Patreon and things like that have really done well for people, is that, for the guy who's got $1 million and it's just like his hobby project to see if this game gets made, they can afford to give you $1,000 a year. They don't give a shit. I mean, okay, so that there covers 1,000 people as far as I'm concerned. That's 1,000 votes. And then everyone else who's like, I'm really passionate about this, but I can only afford to give $10 or $5 or $1 or whatever it happens to be. To me, they're all the same. These are all like equally valid votes. And I think that has helped a lot of people. And I think that that's an interesting way to approach the future of how we handle investing into games, or not even investing, but just supporting their development. But I'm not sure how you inspire that many people. It's a really difficult process, and you seem to have successfully done a lot more time thinking about it.
I think the key is finding the people, or no, like making it easy for people. Right. Like, and that's why like the example I just gave about a shareable trailer, something that is marketable. Like, we have to think these very specific thoughts. We have to be like, what would, like I had a friend who's, the project will be announced. You'll probably hear news about whatever game I'm talking about in 6 months. Right. But this person is talking to some fairly major publishers. But he's working on a build of the game, and he wrote me and said, hey, I need to make a trailer, but let's talk about what a sellable trailer looks like. And so we went over this process, and we designed the way a trailer would be sellable with things in mind, as far as like mute times. You have a visual scroll time of 2 seconds on Twitter. Like, that's just the way it works. People scroll. If you have 2 seconds to win somebody over visually, and then audio matters. And so, like, we went over this process, right? And the idea was to craft something that would be easy for somebody to be excited about. And then the ideal thing would be that they would become your marketers, because you marketed something to them, got them excited emotionally. The thing people do when they're excited about something emotionally is they retweet it. And so rather than the idea of hey, I want to show like this specific thing. Well, like the person was even like, what do I do with, spoilers? He's like, and I was like, do half spoilers. Like, if you're proud of a moment, that needs to be very early in the trailer. It needs to be like 10 seconds in. But if it's a moment you care about, they probably won't remember. But the idea is like we really, for you to be successful in the industry, my friend, like let's make sure that even though this isn't the only thing that's going to matter, it does matter. And so let's craft it like it matters. And then we'll move on to the next thing and we'll do this thing over here. But let's just do each thing very purposefully. And I think that's where it's hard, because you have like all these guys who are amazing developers, but these aren't their things. And then you have some publishers who should be good at this stuff, but they're not. And maybe they have the wrong people in the wrong positions, or like advertising is the biggest challenge in with our groups, right? Like, it is so damn hard to advertise games like the ones we love, because you have to break people's preconceptions, and you have a very limited time to do it. And I think, like I said, I think our industry is at this point where if we can figure this out, then we all benefit, because we're just going to drag people in. And I'll tell you, the second you buy Proteus, you're buying Dusk. And the second you buy Dusk, you're leaning over and buying something else. And I don't know anybody who's ever bought one classic FPS. Everybody I know who gets involved, everybody who gets captured, just starts collecting, and they don't even beat them all. They just keep buying them and keep playing 3 hours of each one, and because they're fun. And it's like, all we got to do is figure out how to properly help people outside of our circles understand that this shit is so fun.
Eventually you hope that the party gets going so good that it's just like, oh shit, what are they doing over there? But eventually
well,
that day comes.
And that's the thing, is you also have, it's lined up right now where this, like, the next couple years are kind of the best time for that, because we have games like Celico coming out. Like we have some pretty heavy hitters that are going to be like prime examples of the sort of fun that we've been secretly having for years.
I think now is the time to play retro FPS. I think the time to make $1 million off of one was when Dusk was released, and now that's over.
Yeah.
I think, there's just really something about how that game hit the market at the right place at the right. It wasn't the first game to attempt that genre. It was just the one who caught lightning in a bottle, and then everything after that sort of has to live up to that standard. And not to say there have been some absolutely, you've named several of them so far, like just fantastic games that have come through the genre since then. However, now we're in a market where you're competing with other people who are trying to deliver very similar products. Yeah. And as you said, the market has to
which
grow,
is why,
it'll be sustainable.
Yeah, that's exactly and that's where my heart is as I work on this side. Like my income is streaming, but as I spend more and more time in meetings with developers, and with publishers, like I'm constantly like, we need more customers. Like, we have to have more, because there's too many good games. And and again, that falls back to that sad tweet where, like, this is a good game and it didn't sell, and this person really thought they had something, and it's like, oh my gosh, I hate to say, but what if Celico what if Celico just fell flat on its face? That would break my freaking heart. Because the game is, like, we know it's incredible. Everybody who's touched it is like, yeah, even in these limited capacities, like, this is great, and we're really excited about it. And it's like, so I have this drive, man, because I love all these people, like the guys from Celico, they've been so kind to me in like private messages and stuff. And it's like, I look at that and I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, I want you to succeed. So how can we all do this? Because it's not just business, it's pleasure and friendship as well. And that's the unique thing about that's what I was surprised about when I got involved in all of this is, and maybe it's because I loved it when I was a kid, maybe there's that level I don't know what it is, but I've grown to love these people because they're real people making things that I enjoy, but they're also just nice, cool people. The level of kindness and maturity generally within the classic FPS community is just, man, they're valuable people, and I just want to see them succeed. And so it's like, you like, it would break my heart if an incredible game. I mean, it breaks my heart when okay games fail, but it really would break my heart if an incredible game failed.
I want all of the games that are just limited to like GZ Doom Engine projects right now. Like, so Celeco, Beyond Sunset. These are incredible looking games.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Hyper Strange. What's the one that Hyper Strange just put a demo out for? There's too many. And then eventually Stellar Valkyrie.
Blood West.
No, Blood West is.
Was it Blood West? No,
it's not Doom Engine.
That comes out Friday.
Now I'm going to
right. That's
Vortex. Not going to forgive me for forgetting.
Yeah. Pull it up.
Pull that shit up, Jamie. Let's see. Hyper Strange. Ooh, people are going to be shouting into the microphone, like yelling at their cell phones, throwing them on the ground, stomping them into the dust. Supplies. Oh my god, I feel like such a douche. It's Supplies.
Oh my gosh, the gun artwork in that game is like so good.
So
it
would be really easy to fall into the trap of saying like, oh man, I hope some of them are good, but maybe not. Age of Hell, even all of these things, I need them to be successful because I want the market for Stellar Valkyrie to be primed and ready when it's done. If all of these games come out and they end up being commercial failures, then I'm going to have to face the sad truth that I'm dead in the water before I ever get the duck into space. And we can't have that.
But no, that's a perfect, this is a perfect conversation about this, right? Like you just listed off incredible products that people are pumping time into and they're satisfying. And they all share a customer base.
Yes.
And that's good in some regards, but also like we need to start figuring, like I said, we need to start figuring out like, and here's the cool thing about this, right? So there's people like us who will buy them all. But then, you know what? Maybe my wife isn't into Age of Hell, but maybe Supplies she's into. Maybe that art style resonates with her more. Like they're under the umbrella. There are, and this is why like I do like this is why I've changed my Friday streams, right? Because I'm trying to perfect a format right now. I'm trying to perfect, if anything, I'm trying to also refine my ability to help people see the things in each title that may be appealing to them. But like new people that come in, they might like all of those games, but one of them might be the one that captures them. Like True. Maybe the art, maybe somebody loves Supplies, dude, the gun artwork. That's the first thing for me that won me over. When I saw it, I was like, those are crisp as hell. Like they look so cool. They make me feel badass playing. And so that game, to show that off, that would be beneficial because that would if we show it off to the right people and the right people see it, it drags them in. Let's say we design an amazing purposefully marketable trailer for that. Like it's not marketed towards us, but it's marketed towards somebody like with a catchy thing that would catch their eye. And it shows gameplay. It's an honest trailer. It's not a trailer that's built for deception, but it has those things that maybe would make it more shareable to people outside of our communities. Well, if we drag people into our community, then it's very likely they buy that and then they buy Bridges' game. Because they end up seeing that, and and so, like I said, we're at this point where it's like, man, I just want to see what we can do. I want to see everything we can do to make it so that everybody can win. Because not only does the purchaser, not only do the dev team wins, but the purchaser wins because they're getting to play this cool game, and so it's one of those things where like. It's similar to the idea of a call to action. If you're doing them right, everybody wins.
Well, before we depart here, where can people find you, man? It's been a real pleasure getting to speak with you and just pick your brain about all these awesome
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me. I've had an enjoyable time. So I mean, you can find me on Twitch. Again, my name is so stupid. Never name yourself after a dead meme. Like there's a meme like 10 years ago. I didn't know I was going to use this account to stream. I didn't know I was going to be successful at it. And it kind of caught it too late. But it's DaBesJared, DaBesJared. You can find me on Twitch under that name. You can find me on Twitter under that name. I tweet all day long because that's where my friends are. And come and say hi. Enjoy yourself. Don't say hi. Enjoy yourself, or just whatever. Like I'm thankful to be. I'm thankful to be so welcomed by all of you guys. I really can't express that enough. Like this last year. I finally, because of this classic FPS community, I just feel like I've made friends, man. And I'm so thankful for that. So thank you for having me. Thank you for including me. Foamy, thank you for recommending this conversation. I really enjoy Foamy quite a bit. But yeah, just thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, anytime. And if you ever need anything or want to come back on to discuss something new, just a topic hits your mind, I don't care. You're always welcome, dude. This has been really fun.
Sweet. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you very much to Jared for joining us. It was really, really cool to just spend all that time getting to learn from someone like him who's put in that time, that effort, and really got it down to almost a science, if it ever could be one. But I feel like this is one of those that I'm going to point back to, sort of like the Starlight Skies episode where I'm like, yeah, this is a masterclass for free. Just listen, maybe take a few notes and you'll probably do better than you were going to do without it. But yeah, thank you so much to him for coming on. Music this week is by Mothership Loudspeakers. You probably know that name from what used to be called Dead Game, now Ghostware, all one word. And it looks like they just put out a prequel demo right at the end of the year, so you might want to go check that out too. Definitely tell them Old Motherload sent you. But yeah, Motherload and Mothership Loudspeakers. It's the other ML. Love that guy. I do need to address a few things. First of all, I've still been slacking. I know. I told you guys I would get it out on time every week, and I missed a whole week, and here I am again. So just be patient with me while I'm in between living situations, and hopefully by next month everything will be back to normal, and we'll be back on YouTube. I promise. And I'll get everything that isn't currently on YouTube uploaded as well. But yeah. Thanks to all our supporters. Remember to go to inthekeep.com right now, and or whenever you feel like it. Check out all of our wonderful merchandise we have there, as well as the many ways that you can support us. The biggest ones right now would be to check out our games, Call of Seregnar and Stellar Valkyrie. They're both on there under the Games tab. You can learn more about them. But if you want to support us, the best thing you can do right now, let people know that you care about those games. Go ahead and wishlist them right now on your Steam or itch page, whichever you prefer. And yeah, I hope you end up liking them when they come out. The demo for Call of Seregnar is available right now, so no excuses, people. Give it a shot. Thank you all. Anyways, till next time. Also, sorry I lied and Bridgeburner was not on this week. He will be on soon, I promise. We just haven't gotten our schedules to click. What was I going to say? Oh yeah. Till next time. I love you. The Drowned Guy Cathala loves you. Stay in the keep.